We are looking at Lesson 7, Simple and Complete. You know that when you're looking for the subject of the sentence, you ask yourself the question, what or who is the sentence about? And you're looking for one noun or one pronoun to answer that question. And that is your simple subject. So let's take a look at this sentence right here. The economy of the scenic country of Cyprus relies heavily upon tourism. The word economy is the simple subject. It answers what or who the sentence is about. Now, you also know that the next question we ask is, where's our verb? The main verb or verb phrase is the predicate, right? That is the simple predicate. So going right back to here, the economy of the scenic country of Cyprus relies. Relies is the simple predicate. But now, what is the complete subject? The complete subject has anything to do with the subject. So it's going to include any adjectives, it's going to include any prepositional phrases, anything that you would hang under the S in subject for diagramming is the complete subject. So let's take a look. The economy of the scenic country of Cyprus all relates to economy. That is your complete subject. What's the complete predicate? Relies heavily upon tourism. Heavily describes how, describes relies upon tourism, modifies relies. That is your complete predicate. So let's go ahead and have some practice. We're going to start with number 1. The directions say to underline the complete subject once and the complete predicate twice. Work carefully. Write the simple subject on the line A and the verb on line B. So number 1, old apartments and other abandoned buildings are gradually being torn down. Did you find the simple subject? What or who is the sentence about? Apartments, buildings. They were 2 simple subjects. Write that on line A. What is the verb or verb phrase? Did you find the state of being? Are being torn. There's a whole verb phrase there. Are being torn. Go ahead and write that on line B. Now, anything having to do with apartments and buildings get underlined once. Old modifies apartments, and other abandoned buildings, that all modifies the subject, so underline that once. And anything that has to do with are being torn down, when are they being torn down? Gradually. Where? Down. Underline that twice. So basically, if you draw a line between buildings and are, everything in front of buildings is underlined once, everything behind are is underlined twice. Go ahead and see if you could do 2 through 4 on your own, and we'll come back and correct that in a moment. Let's go ahead and correct 2 through 4. So number 2, I hope on line A, the subject you found was Bermuda. The verb is has. Anything having to do with Bermuda, there's only Bermuda. Bermuda is both the simple subject and the complete subject. Take a look at everything that has to do with the complete predicate, though. It has what? Palm trees, colorful flowers, and sandy beaches. So basically, everything on this side of the line right here is going to be your complete predicate that you underline twice, right? Your complete predicate. Number 3, your simple subject that you put on line A is dunes. Your simple predicate that you put on line B is your verb, may reach. What has to do with dunes? Some of the sand dunes in the Rub al Khali, a vast desert in Saudi Arabia. That all has to do with your complete subject because it all has to do with dunes. Everything else is your complete predicate. May reach a height of 1,000 feet. Number 4, here is your simple subject, troops. You put that on line A. Your simple predicate is your verb phrase, set fire. You put that on line B. Everything having to do with the troops. So during the Persian War, Iraqi troops, and that pause for a second. Troops. The only thing having to do with troops is Iraqi troops. That's only one thing. So if you underline Iraqi troops, that's only the one thing that has to do with troops. Everything else, including when did they set the fire? During the Persian Gulf War. So you notice that part of the phrase in the beginning of that? Underline that twice. Set fire to what? To oil wells in Kuwait and dumped millions of gallons of crude oil into the Gulf. Ooh, I even spotted another verb there. They have two verbs here, so I actually need to diagram it like this if I were to diagram it. Set fire would be on line B, but I missed something. Dumped. So you see how that's all part of the complete predicate there that you underlined twice. Number 5 is worded a little bit confusing, especially with how I teach it, so let me help you with that one. When finding the subject of a sentence, it actually wants you to find the verb first. So go ahead and write in verb. But here is the reason why, and this part I think you will get. Then ask what or who to find the subject. So if you locate the verb first and ask what or who, then that might be another easy way of finding the subject. Remember, the subject always has to be a noun or a pronoun. For this next section, numbers 6 through 10, you're supposed to underline the verb twice and the subject once. But before you do that, I want you to keep an eye out for some specific kinds of sentences. I want you to keep your eye out for imperative sentences. Remember, King Imperative always makes requests or commands. If he says, "Get me fluffy slippers," you know it's King Imperative. And King Imperative is always talking to who? To you. You are always the subject of the sentence. So whenever you have a command like this, "Get me fluffy slippers," or a request, you know that you has to be written in as the subject, and then you look for the verb, get. Okay, another sentence that you're looking for is the interrogative. These are my questions. So here I have, will you look for the helping verb? The thing to note is that when you look for the verb, will look. You're looking for a split verb phrase. And so if you were to diagram this, you would be my subject and will look would be the verb phrase. So go ahead and do numbers 6 through 10, but keep in mind to look for imperative sentences and interrogative sentences and do not get fooled. Let's go ahead and make corrections. So remember, they want you to look for the verb first and then ask who or what. So number 6, even though it's written in kind of an interesting order, if you do this, it works. I hope you found sat as your action verb. What sat? Rockers sat. So underline this twice, this once. Rockers answers the question of what sat. Number 7, serve. Serve is your verb. Who serves? Well, this is an imperative sentence. It's the understood you. You actually have to write that in parentheses and underline it. Number 8, there have been 20 days in a row with temperatures of 90 degrees or above. This could be kind of tricky because it's out of order again. But if you find your verb phrase has been and ask yourself the question, what has been? Who has been? You could answer it, oh, the days have been. Here is your subject. Number 9. Again, it looks a little bit confusing because you have two verbs, go and read. They're both action verbs. Who goes? Who reads? Girls. So I hope that was helpful. Even though this next part is we remember, we're getting into kind of trickier stuff, so I'm going to help you out. Number 11 says true or false. A preposition is a part of a phrase and is always followed by a noun or pronoun called the object of the pronoun. Let's see. Is this a phrase? On the moon? Is this the preposition right here? Does it followed by a noun or pronoun called the object of the preposition? If that is true, then that statement is true. And go ahead, write true in on that line. Number 12. A verbal is an adjective that functions as a verb. Well, I wrote in a verbal right here, broken window. Wait a second. Broke reminds me of a verb, but here it's functioning, describing that window. So actually, I know that this is functioning like an adjective. So is number 12 true or false? It is false. A verbal is a verb that functions like an adjective. So I hope you weren't fooled by that. The next little section, I just want to review what the words nominative and objective are when it comes to pronouns. So remember, pronouns are words like I, her, she, me, they, him, us. But which one is nominative and which one is objective? At this point, I hope you're getting familiar with what is the subject. So if you can associate nominative with the subject and objective with the predicate, that might be helpful. I went to the store with her. I is my subject. So anything that works with the subject is a nominative case pronoun. Anything that works over here in the predicate is an objective case pronoun. She is my subject. Me is my objective pronoun. They is my subject. Us, they gave who? They gave us. That's my indirect object. Gift from him. So again, from him is the object of my preposition. So I'm seeing objects. So here's my direct object. Here's my direct object. So anything that's in the predicate is objective. Anything that's in my subject is nominative. With that information, let's answer these questions. Number 13, pronouns used as subjects and predicate nominative. Pronouns used as subjects and predicate nominatives. Well, if it's used in the subject, it's nominative. And when it's talking about as a predicate nominative, it's like this. Let's see. Heather is, and then here I could put a predicate nominative is she. Heather is she, not Heather is her. Heather is she. That's a tricky one to make a lot of sense out of. Okay, number 14. Pronouns used as direct objects, indirect objects, and objects of the preposition would be what kind of pronouns? Objective pronouns. Now let's get specific for number 15. When we see words like me, you, him, her, us, is that objective or nominative? Objective, right? It's part of the direct object or indirect object or the object of the preposition. So please put objective. Number 16. I, you, he, she, they, it, we. Can you use that as a subject of your sentence? Well, then you know that it's nominative. I do want you to do 17 through 19. And here, underline the verbs, and I mean the whole verb phrase. If it has any action in it, write action. If you could put an equal sign over to connect the subject and something in the predicate, then you know it's a linking verb. Go ahead and do those. Number 20 through 22. To identify the underlined words as adverb or preposition, Ron shut the motor off and let the boat drift. Is off part of a prepositional phrase? Or does it describe where or how he should shut the motor? It's a how question, so it's an adverb. Number 21. Carla whacked the croquet ball and hollered as it rolled through the wicket. Through the wicket is a prepositional phrase, starting with through, ending with wicket, so it's a preposition. Number 22. Dennis ducked behind a tree and threw the water balloon at the girls as they walked by. Behind a tree. Starts with behind, ends with tree. It's part of the prepositional phrase. Hope you put preposition. We're going to go ahead and do 23 and 24 together now. Let's go ahead and try their trick. We'll look for the verb phrase first. Did you find the word explained as the verb, the action in there? Who explained? Who explained? Dad explained. Dad explained what? He explained the problem. I have a direct object. I have a problem. Did I have anything that modifies problem? The problem and complicated problem. I don't know if I spelled that right. How did he explain the problem? Carefully. He explained it carefully. Carefully is an adverb that modifies my verb, but just how carefully did he explain it? Very carefully. Very is an adverb that modifies another adverb. And there you have it. What is the verb or verb phrase? I hope you found the word opened. What opened? Door. What kind of door? The door. Heavy door. Bronze door. Of the lighthouse tower is still relating to the door. So, of lighthouse, actually no, tower, of tower, and the word lighthouse describes a tower, I think. Lighthouse tower. What did it do? Opened, and opened where? Into a dimly lit storage room. So, into is a prepositional phrase. Into what? A room. What kind of room? A lit storage room. But just how lit was it? It was dimly lit. So there you have that one. Go ahead and finish up your light unit and we'll check it on Tuesday.